All right, welcome to the weekly screen share. Thank you for being here. Let me jump back into the chat. What's up, man? Afropitch. I'm not saying that correctly. Let me pop up this chat. All right. Shout out to everyone being here. I'm a little under the weather. I'm going to be a little briefer than normal, but we're going to get through this together. We're going to have a good time. Appreciate each and every one of you for being here. We'll look at token metrics. We'll see they like bit light. Never heard of that. Zera, Vector, Smart Gas, Blue, Luxo. I remember Luxo from back in the day. Chador, Echo Real, Bitboard, and Sui D-Side. D-Side, which is interesting, right? There's D-Side is going to get big eventually. That's going to be another narrative. And that might run in the bear market, or whatever this, you want to call this pullback season. Greater. To me, a bear market is just 2 weeks below the 200 moving average on the daily, So, like, it's not that serious. Like, you can get out of it as fast as you can into it, but you're in a bear market, right? So, in my mind, we're in a bear market. Bitcoin's been below the daily 200 moving average for too long for me to consider us in a bull market, right? So, doesn't mean we can't reverse and come back. It's just right now, for me, it's not a bull market, right? When you can short with ease and the trend keeps going down, that's a bearish trend. On the bigger time frames, that's a bear market. When you can long with ease and you start going up, that's a bull market, right? And when you keep making higher lows and higher highs, that's a bull market. Some of these people could short. That's why I'm putting some of the bearish ones in there just because, hey, Kava Len might just dump on you when DeFi collapses. Right? And we might even make a live trade here together with you guys. So I just posted token metrics. Again, I'm not that aggressive but there could be something hot. You never know, like this BitLight saga, and I'll go through them. My team will go through them. We'll take a look at those. And it's funny, you can download the app and have the app on your desktop. Anoa. Funny, I remember that one back in the day. Is that the same? I know. Recently termed Zera, BitLight, Trador, Telcoin, Millennia. Interesting. Best daily performers. BitLight. Never heard of it, you know what I mean? And again, it could just be, that might be just too risky and all that stuff. And most trending is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bless, and Jupiter. And that takes me to Zcash, right? It's the most bullish chart on the 1 hour, but honestly, you have to understand that it could easily I've seen this before where everything looks cool and then just dump right to the downside, right? Take out everybody's stop. So that could happen, and Bitcoin will dump and everything will kind of go dump with it. It is looking more bullish than bearish. The daily looks good. Everything is setting up for a continuation to the upside. I like what I'm seeing, right? Zcash looks like it's the one, I got in and then I just made like $1,000 today and got out. Like I just, when I saw Bitcoin dumping, I was like, now it seems to be kind of back where it was. So at 680. So I got in at somewhere around 674, 676. And then I sold when it hit that 702, 704 region, which was a nice little come up for me. Quick little move. And now we're back at 683 again, kind of back at the bottom of the channel, right? And this does look bullish. And tomorrow we low volume. The only thing that I just, when you look at it on the 5-day, you're very far away from the 21 and your tweets are topping. 3-day too could be a little bearish. So like, even the weekly tweets are topping and very overbought. So the daily looks good, but I could see how we just really dump too as well. So I would be very careful trading Zcash, even though it looks amazing. And again, there's a chance you don't get in and it pumps up 92%. I get it. Just, know that there's definitely high risk there. And it's not all like, oh, jump on in, it's awesome. You know what I mean? Sam, can you show your screen? Would it be a good idea? That would be a good idea. Yeah. That would be one of those good ideas that we should do. But yeah, Zcash. Let me shrink this down too a little bit. So there's the Zcash right there. Okay. And we haven't done much. You know, I basically posted what I saw on token metrics already to the group. This Zera, Bitlight, Trador, Telcoin, I would stay away from Millennia. But again, and I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say and do should be taken as financial advice. All right. Let's take a look at Zen. I'm just going to kind of go over all the privacy coins that we were going over before. You know, Zen's still in the running with those 18 million circulating supply, right? That small supply. And that's a good sign for Zen, you know. And, you know, again, we'll see. It's getting tight on the daily. As long as it stays above the daily 200 moving average and it gets tighter and tighter, there's a chance. Doesn't look amazing. I'm not saying it's awesome, but hey, there's a chance. Secret network. Not really anything to write home about. Looks pretty whack, to be honest. A little bit of a chance it could possibly break out of this flag. Cup and handle in a way, but still a lot more high risk. It is getting oversold, though. Looks like it could happen. R, which is pirate chain. Yeah, needing that bounce. And if it does, it's a right shoulder, too. And the bigger time frames, it's pretty spent. Like the 5-day, the weekly, it went on a pretty nice run. It's like it had its run, 19 cents to 83, nice 4X, right? And now it's kind of like, you know, maybe it could make a sideways price action there on the weekly, and that would be amazing. As you can see, I'm just like I wouldn't touch it until the weekly shows some, you know. So a lot of these kind of look like they were spent. You know, the narrative is drying up a little bit there. ZK Sync. Yeah, it looks interesting. Again, that flag, previous resistance could be support there, but nothing to write home about. You know, but again, you know, that could, and it's a 7-8, the 618 golden pocket, even back down to the 786. So you could see more out of that, but to me, it's yeah, I wouldn't be jumping on it. So those narratives look a little dry right now. Okay, and just CCAS looks interesting to me. But I also know there's high risk for Zcash, so risk abound. Let's take a look at BTC and just kind of look at all the opportunity. Right now I'm seeing kind of a head and shoulder pattern on the 1 minute. 1 minute is getting rejected. And back to the strategies that we teach, right? We talk about how important it is to maintain the 200 moving averages. We talk about front running when we can see that the 50 is coming for the 200, right? That's going to be a bearish cross, a death cross. That's a good front run, okay? Funny, wounded market makers behind crypto crunch speculate calmly. Everyone has an idea, right? What are they saying here? I just like to read some of these headlines. Something about Bitcoin tax, Bitcoin bottom, Metaplanet eyes 135 raise. Jay says strategy could face billions in outflows if MCI and other major indices remove it. Oh my gosh. Interesting. Let's just do our top down. To me, I see more downside, sadly, even on the monthly. It looks like the monthly could continue right down to 82,682. And, you know, there's still time in the month, right? There's still 11 days left. Like, we could go even further down. So, you lose that level, we could head down to 71,000. And simple is this, right? It's a rising wedge. Rising wedges break down 68% of the time, right? There was always that possibility, that chance as we flagged out. But, you know, the moving averages were very far apart. It told us a story that, you know, we've seen many times. And I said, you know, if the rising wedge breaks down to where it began, I said that would be very normal price action for Bitcoin. If you took these wicks here, you're at the 786. Could you get a little bounce there? You would think there would be some type of bounce on the monthly. I mean, it's been brutal. 2-week chart, bearish engulfing candle below the 21-day moving average, just looking horrible. The weekly too as well. I mean, what a beautiful short, right? And that short right there, 1077 that I did call on that daily time frame, that played out very nicely. With the stop loss and everything, you know what I mean? So, and that's just trading the right shoulder. It's nothing else, nothing special. And then, yeah, so like you would expect this to come all the way back down on the weekly to 78,005. Yeah, so I'd be looking for 78,500 for Bitcoin. That just looks likely to me. You know, we could just keep kind of shorting and keep, you know, every time there's a local top, we just short that. Like the daily's a little far from the 21 again. It had a nice move. So now you could be like, okay, the daily could possibly go sideways now. 22, stuff like that. 8-hour, 4-hour time frame. Look at shoulder, head, nope, wasn't going to do it. Shoulder, head, nope, wasn't going to do it. Rolled over. Kind of a bullish div here now. That swings down, that swings up strong. Real strong, actually. That's like pretty strong bullish divvy. And now here you go. You just keep trying. You know, you just keep seeing the shoulder, head. Just one of them will eventually move, right? So you're looking for the 4-hour to make the inverted. Excuse me, sorry. And you're looking for this to kind of break back up to the upside. I'm not that sick. I just got that like headache and that just, you know, from being on the plane, jet lag, sinus, that just, you know, I'll be fine in a day or two. I'm taking ginger. I'm taking my turmeric. I'm doing all the natural things I can do. So, yeah, we're seeing if this can make an inverted head and shoulder now. Not going to give up until eventually we get, because one time you give up, you'll miss the perfect reversal, right? Doesn't mean you have to trade it every time, but we could watch it, observe, and then take advantage of the higher probabilities. And then the 1 hour still kind of wants to climb, but I mean, look, shoulder, head, or right shoulder, right? So that could be a shoulder head. And even here, that support, that's not resistance. Yeah, so for the 1 hour, I'd begin to kind of flag it out or something like this, you know. See if there's more downside. To 81K. 15-minute looks like a head and shoulder, does it not? Shoulder, head, right shoulder. That would break down even more. Yeah, price action does not look good. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, back down to 85,000. Shoulder, head, right shoulder there too. And everything's below the 1 minute, 200. So maybe it makes a move, gets back above, but yeah, I see more downside. If it bounces up, makes the triangle, or if this right shoulder just continues, I see $85,000 for Bitcoin. And look, 82.5 is book map too as well, so it suggests that we do go lower. So it basically says you can make a short with a stop above that head, you know. Maybe even go all the way down lower, you know. So I'm definitely more bearish on Bitcoin right now. I don't see a reversal anytime soon. I see more downside. And I could be wrong. Maybe it rips up and we start to, you know, and that's the case. We get above the 15-minute. I'll say, hey, if you get above that 15-minute 200 moving average and you start to flag, then I'll take it seriously. Until then, it's bearish. You know, and that's not, I shouldn't even take that seriously, but that's how things could grow. So I take small time frames to big ones many times over. Okay, so that's what I see for PTC. Really no craziness there. That's what I see happening. And I think on like a lot of altcoins and almost any altcoin is pretty high risk right now tonight with low volume. that you could easily get wrecked. So just be careful, right? I don't run into altcoins right now. Some of them look interesting. There seems to be a little bit of movement, some green action, but I usually, I don't get caught up by that stuff. I guess that doesn't mean the whole market's in a very good place that can insulate, bad behavior. IP, Injective, wow, all these prices, StarkNet, everything just collapsed. Atom made bad at 279 actually. Caspa at 4 cents, you know what I mean? Back to zero. The near is actually pretty strong from where it was before last week. Chainlink to 13, and everything is just kind of back down. Yep. XRP, $2. It ain't the worst for XRP there. But yeah. And people say, well, it's a DCA. I mean, I've bought enough of these coins. I have the ones that I believe in, and everything else to me is just, you stare at it for months and you watch it go up, watch it go down. And to me, I just think I'll hold what I have, but that's about it. I'm not going to go too crazy, right? The bot itself, too, is underwater there, but, with hope that it can just make a big enough buy order to get itself out, So that's something that I have to pay attention to as well. Yeah, and besides that, like I'm still, I'm holding a bunch of Tether, and at the right moment, I'll go back into the market. But, I have 160 grand out of the market and even more in other places too. And I'm just kind of, waiting for better times to get into crypto, right? There could be, I've bought the fear. I'll continue. What I'll do is I'll DCA into Bitcoin all the way down to, till I see a possible bottom. We're going to have some bullish div on the weekly or something like that. And we'll be at a Fibonacci retracement, and until then, it just, doesn't look amazing, to be honest. And remember, Zcash looks cool in the flag, and it could pump hard, but just remember the bigger time frames do not look amazing. All right, so Thursday night wouldn't be the night I would say, even though it is our night to chill, wouldn't be the night I'd say let's just like jump into altcoins and go crazy. You know what I mean? It's just not the time. I wish it was the time, but it's not the time. But that's okay. There's still awesome things to learn. Like you could learn divergences. You could you could learn your Fibonacci retracements. This is a good time to understand Fibonacci, hidden bullish divergence. Like there's so much to work on. So in the next cycle, you're ready to go. And just absorbing it and being around as the cycles move, like watching a bullish cycle go into a bear, watching a bear go into a bull. Being around when the bear goes into the bull is probably the most beautiful and epic time, right? Because you really learn the most then. There could be some scalping on the 1 minute. I'm always got the 1 minute up. There could be a bit of a scalp here. And here's one high risk trade. If someone feels like they have to take a trade today, something I probably take a shot on, is like, could this be a tweezer bottom? But there's no wick on this. It's there. It's tiny. But like, could we finally bottom here? And you just go with the idea that you wake up tomorrow and this candle is, somewhere up in here, and you take profits in the morning, right? It's like, otherwise you wake up and you're smashed, and they take you out the game, right? So that's like, to me, like one of the only really, front running the possible tweezer bottom, which is like still very high risk. My advice to all you exit this crypto market for a while. Liquidation happening for sure. Funny. And as you can see, I'm like Yeah, trust me, I preach that M all the time. My oregano oil and black seed oil keep me together. Don't worry, man. Everyone acts like you don't get sick. I get sick like once a year. And I'm not even sick. I'm like slightly congested. Yeah. Just listen to the podcast with Grant Cardone and Michael Saylor. At the end of the day, we are so early, even if you bought for the first time today. That's what I'm saying. You know? That's how I look at it. I have oregano oil. I take that all the time. Yeah. Mullein leaf. Yep. Take oregano oil. I drink oregano oil in my sleep, man. Guys are ridiculous. Nah, thank you. But I do. I have oregano oil. Feel better, bro. Thank you for your time. Yeah. At one point, do you consider pivoting to trading the stock market versus crypto? We've been trading the stock market. You know what I mean? But the stock market looks pretty, like, it doesn't look, it's not like it looks absolutely amazing either, right? At the present moment. Let's take a look at ES1, and I'm going to do my top-down analysis tomorrow right on the macro. You know, there's that daily, though. You know, what I'm looking for, you know, you never know, man. Today, we could reverse. Bitcoin could reverse. You know, that's the thing. They're going to print this money, and I still believe they're going to cut rates in December, even though they say they're not. And if not in December, in January. Like, it's coming. They're going to cut the rate. And when that happens, that money's going to flow, and then that market, we're going to rip. So bear market or not, or pullback or not, like, we're still in this predicament where we're waiting on all this money that's on the sidelines to come into the market. ES1 could make a beautiful inverted head and shoulder here and get a nice bounce. I keep saying this could be the bounce of a lifetime for the S&P and the NASDAQ. Like, everyone could be so bearish right now, and this could be an amazing bounce. This one looks a little more like it's starting to lose some key levels, though. Like, that was definitely the resistance. You lost that. Almost seems like you have to come back to 2349 first. And the daily might be making a bear flag. So, you know, just watch. If the daily makes a bear flag, you know what the, you know we're coming down. If we get the reversal, then we have nothing to worry about. Like, we're going to stay inside this bigger pattern. And in the next 2 weeks, we will know exactly what's going to happen for the next 2 months. We go down sideways like this, we're taking a huge jump. We come up like this, we're consolidating for possibly more. So 2 weeks from now, we're going to know so much more about the markets. They're going to tell us, and they're going to tell us this is a substantial, like, every 2 weeks has information, and it is important, but this is the most. We'll get them a lot right here. Probably the weather change, man. Yeah. No, I flew on a plane, man. Remember I went to Lisbon, everybody. I was jet lagged. I didn't sleep. I only slept 2 hours for 2 days. Yeah. Shout out to Stack. Shout out to everybody. Yeah. But with that, like, so you could long the daily as a wild man. To me, that's like the wild west crazy trade. And I could do it like 500 for, 500. Look, 500 for, 11-to-1 risk reward ratio. We get back to 93,000. So 500 for $5,000, like, why not, right? So I'll put, like, maybe, a little bit on there and just let it see what happens. Why not? And we'll come tomorrow. So this is like, that's like, but that's, it's pretty far away from the 21. We could get a move back up, at least one of these, at least something. You think we get at least back up there to 91,000. So that's a possible move tonight. But again, and it's high risk, and someone should wait for us to break the 200 on the 1 minute at least too. Anyway, I'm going to go to sleep and attempt to sleep off this whatever I got so I can be as good as I can tomorrow. But I love you. I thank you guys. I apologize for cutting it a little short and not being the best. But, I don't think there's much more to go over. I'm pretty happy with Bitcoin. These altcoins are enticing, but just be careful. Yeah. I could just throw a bunch of things. Let's do it. But, it's time to relax. It's time to watch the market. And we're just going to look for Bitcoin. Basically, we're going to look for basically bounces where we can scalp Bitcoin for now. Now, I'm not going to say call the bottoms, but we're going to look for bounces where you can scalp it. And then we can look for long-term accumulation. And to me, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. So focus on the opportunity. Stay focused on positivity. Don't let anyone get in your head. Don't, tell yourself you're right where you need to be. Losses or wins, you're right where you need to be. God has you exactly. You're learning the lessons you came to learn. Whether they may be tough. Some of them are the toughest lessons of our lives. It never gets easier, right? And yeah, with that, I just want to say keep fighting, don't stop. All right.